We're about a month and a half away from 2025 NFL free agency being kicked off. And on today's video, we did a recap of who is all available, but really our idea was going through a perfect free agency plan that is also realistic. We're going to go over 6 or 7 players. I can't remember how many. We're going to tell you how much money they should sign for and how that will affect the Giants cap. First, though, make sure you are subscribed to the channel. We put out free, informative, entertaining content every single day, and we will be live for like the first 4 days of free agency, breaking it all down, and I don't want you to miss it. So go on right now and hit that subscribe button. All right, let's start with this. The New York Giants are projected to have $53 million in cap space, which is the 12th most in the National Football League. Sounds like a lot of money, and it is a good amount of money, and it'll be able to get you some really good players to this football team. But I feel like the Giants should try to find a way and create ways to add more money to their salary cap space. And we've talked about it before on the channel. There are multiple ways to do so. And you need to do that because you got a lot of needs on this roster. I'd say the 6 biggest needs include quarterback, right guard, defensive tackle, wide receiver, corner, and safety. You're not going to get the best player at all of these positions. You're not going to get blue chip players in free agency at all these positions. But can you pick your spots and get some impact players at these spots? We talked about the Giants having $52 million in cap space. Well, here's a way that they could add nearly $43 million more dollars of cap space. I would restructure Brian Burns' contract. 25 years old. He's going to be on the team for a while, and he's going to continue to get better. Prime candidate. I would probably wait and not do the Andrew Thomas restructure until I have to. A little bit worried about the injuries, but he's someone you could do. I absolutely would restructure Dexter Lawrence. He's going to be here. He's young. He's going to keep getting better. Push that money into the future when you have less needs on the roster. And then you could do this, and I would do this, but we're not going to have that for today's show. What we did, we are definitely restructuring Brian Burns. We are definitely restructuring Dexter Lawrence, and that gives you $25 million more in free agency, which brings you to $78.9 million in cap space. And you're really only jeopardizing the cap into the future for star players like Dexter Lawrence and Brian Burns. So now you have a bankroll. You can go out and do it. And let's start with the quarterback position. I'm going to go out and sign Marcus Mariota. I've said it a couple of times. I've mentioned he is one of my dream free agent signings at the quarterback position. At 31 years old, he still has enough tread on the tires to be able to produce and compete. But we saw this year in a backup role and a mentor role, able to be a veteran that Jaden Daniels could lean on. And if you draft Cam Ward, if you draft Shedeur Sanders, I love having a guy on the roster that I'm going to say fell short of expectations in the NFL. That's won a Heisman, and that went number 2 in the draft. He can relate to these guys, and those young guys can relate to him. And the 2 games that Mariota got extensive work in, he was actually really good, completing 18 of 23 passes against Carolina Panthers for 205 yards. He had an adjusted completion percentage of 87. He threw 2 touchdowns, did not throw an interception, and did not have a turnover-worthy play. In the last game of the season against Dallas, 15 of 18, 161 yards, an adjusted completion percentage of 95 with 3 touchdowns, 1 on the ground, 2 through the air, and 0 interceptions, and 0 turnover-worthy plays. And over 40 throws this year, he did not put the ball in harm's way 1 time. Why Mariota? Because he could play right now. He could win you some games. If he has to start all 17 games for you, it's not ideal, but it's better than who you had last year. I believe he is someone that's probably a top 25, top 30 quarterback in the National Football League, and he can mentor a young QB as well. I tried to find a comparable contract for every single one of these players, and one that I stumbled upon was the Tyrod Taylor contract that he signed last offseason to join the New York Jets. He signed a 2-year, $12 million deal. Mariota was on a 1-year, $6 million deal last year for them. So I think it'd be a little bit more expensive, maybe 2 years, $14 million, maybe 2 years, $15 million. But you see his cap hit at just $2.8 million. We're going to make that, instead of Tyrod's 2.8, $3.8 million for Marcus Mariota. And that is now going to leave the Giants with $75.1 million of cap space. So you got your veteran quarterback that you need in free agency. You do. You got that in Mariota. He could start games, he could mentor, and he could be the guy that you rely on. I also want to talk about maybe pushing some money into the future on some of these contracts, because you look at the salary cap books for the New York Giants, and their salary cap books are clean as a whistle in the 2026 season. They are projected to have the 9th most cap space with 0 dead cap dollars. You will be getting that $20 million dead cap hit of Daniel Jones off the books. And I think that you should push some money into the future and go out and make sure you sign Trey Smith in NFL free agency. He's the best offensive lineman available. He plays right guard. You do not have a starting right guard, and he would be a plug-and-play player for you. I also like that he's won a Super Bowl. I also like that he's played multiple Super Bowls. He knows what it takes to win important games. This team needs more winners. It needs more leaders, and I think Trey Smith could be that. He's a great player, guys. He would change this offensive line. If your offensive line was Andrew Thomas at left tackle, John Runyon at left guard, John Michael Schmitz at center, Trey Smith at right guard, Jermaine Illuminor at right tackle, bring back Greg Van Roten to be that backup guard and center, and if Schmitz is bad again, you could plug and play Van Roten. You would have a top 10 offensive line in the National Football League. Over 1,115 snaps this year, he didn't allow 1 sack. He's unreal as a player, and he's even better as a run blocker than a pass blocker. Look, there's going to be a lot of competition in NFL free agency to go out and sign Trey Smith. I know everyone's talking about it. You got to go get him, The Bears are my biggest fear. The GM that drafted him, or the assistant GM that drafted him, Ryan Poles is now the GM for the Chicago Bears. So, got to be competing for there, and it's going to cost you a lot of money. And I think he's going to get a similar contract that our guy Robert Hunt from last offseason ended up signing, which was a 5-year, $100 million deal with $63 million guaranteed. It's a lot of money, but you can finagle these contracts. You can set them up in ways to where the cap hits come a little bit later. For instance, Hunt had a cap hit of just $6.45 million this year, then 21, then 24, then 24, then 23. I'd be totally okay with giving Trey Smith this exact contract. So if you sign him to it and he has a $6.45 million cap hit, the Giants would still have $68.6 million in cap space. I think it's realistic to think that that's the type of money he would get. I think it's logical. The question is, would he come play for the New York Football Giants? In this video, he has no say-so. We're going to the receiver position now. And I'm going out and I'm getting Chris Godwin. I would love to get T. Higgins, and I would love to get Trey Smith. You cannot afford them both. It's just not going to be all that logical. So I'm going to go out there, and I'm going to get the second best wide receiver in free agency, still just 28 years old. I know he's coming off a dislocated ankle, but at 28 years old, I'm not too worried about that injury, and I love the way that he played the year this year. Through 7 games, he was looked at as having the best season of any wide receiver in the National Football League. He had 50 grabs, 576 yards, 5 touchdowns, and he was cooking. And he's been so good his entire career. And like we talked about with Trey Smith, a leader, a captain, a veteran. But with Godwin, he's all of those things, but he could be a kind of just a safety valve for one of these young quarterbacks. You look at receivers in the slot that have had good success with young quarterbacks, because rookie quarterbacks like those shorter throws. They like to keep the ball closer to the line of scrimmage. It's an easier throw, and they get matched up on linebackers and safeties who can't cover as well. I also love that Chris Godwin just does not drop the football. The Giants need a veteran and a captain on offense. You get that in Trey Smith. You get that in Godwin. You also get Super Bowl champions in those guys. You need to bring some winning attitude, some winning habits, some winning juice to this football team. Smith and Godwin, they've both won Super Bowls, and they would bring instant juice to this football team. A contract I think he could get is similar to the extension that Keenan Allen got a couple of years ago, which was a 4-year, $80 million deal, $20 million per year with $43 million in guaranteed money, which has his cap hit in the first year of that contract at $15.7 million. So if you sign him and you structure the contract the same way they did for Keenan Allen, you would still have $52.9 million in cap space this year, which means you still have the opportunity to go out and add more impactful players. And we'll tell you who those guys are in a second. First, though, I got to tell you about our proud sponsor, Game Time. If you want the best tickets to sporting events, concerts, or theater events, download the Game Time app. You can also go catch the big game that's happening between the team that plays in Philadelphia that nobody actually likes. And you can get $20 off your first purchase if you use the promo code CHATSPORTS. That's CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase where terms do apply. Game Time specializes in last-minute tickets. So if you are a procrastinator like I am, you're going to love this app. Also, if you just love getting the best deal, you're going to love this app because they guarantee the best seats for the lowest price guaranteed. It's easy to decide which ticket you want because they'll give you views from inside the stadium at the seats that you want. And if you use that all-in pricing feature right there and you use that Game Time Picks feature, you're going to lock yourself into the best seats for the lowest price guaranteed. So download the app, create an account, use that promo code CHATSPORTS, that's CHATSPORTS, and get $20 off your first purchase where terms do apply. So we talked about a receiver, we talked about a quarterback, and we talked about an interior offensive lineman. Now let's beef up the trenches for the New York Football Giants. Go out and get me Poona Ford, the 5'11", 310-pound, 29-year-old defensive tackle. Poona Ford has kind of been an average defensive tackle throughout his career. He was unreal this year. And Pro Football Focus, they only project him to sign a one-year deal worth $3.5 million. That's a value contract that I am absolutely interested in. When you talk about what Poona Ford was good at this year, it was being a demon in the trenches. He had one of the best PFF grades against the run, and he is someone that made plays consistently at or near the line of scrimmage. Change that Dolphins to Chargers. I also want to go out and sign another defensive tackle in Teair Tart, the other defensive tackle that played for the Los Angeles Chargers. Neither of these guys are going to get big money, so I'm going to go out and get two defensive tackles that are really good against the run. And both of these guys are really good against the run. Tart, not expected to get a lot of money either. A similar deal for him as was Poona Ford's. That's like 1 year for $3.5 million. Tart's is like 1 year for like $2.8 million or something like that. That is what the PFF contract projection is. Tart was really good this year. His PFF run grade, 69.7. That's like top 25 in the National Football League. He had 29 tackles. He had 5 tackles for loss. He was able to be an extremely effective football player for the Los Angeles Chargers this year. So I'm excited about that, and I'm excited about signing him potentially to a 1-year, $2.5 million contract. He's someone that I would absolutely go and get. You pair Tart with Poona Ford, next to Dexter Lawrence, next to Brian Burns, next to Kayvon Thibodeau. You got some legit NFL players on the roster at those spots. So that's what I would do. You got to improve the run game. I'm not willing to cash out any of the defensive tackles that are actually available in free agency. I would definitely go out and get Poona Ford, though, who had a PFF grade on the overall of 85.1 and a PFF run grade of 78.8, top 10 in the NFL this past year. So if you sign Ford and you sign Tart, you still have $46.9 million in cap space. Still able to do some pretty significant things as well. And there's still a really significant position, and I want to see the Giants go out and target. And I'm looking at DB, and I'm looking at corner, and I'm looking at Charvarius Ward of the San Francisco 49ers, the 6'1" quarter that's 196 pounds and still just 28 years old. Look, he did not play good this year for San Francisco. He is someone that had some pretty traumatic family things happen in San Francisco. I don't know all the details, but he has said publicly that he just wants to get out of San Francisco. It brings back too many bad memories. But before that, man, he was awesome in 2023. Second team All-Pro. His PFF coverage grade, 83.3, 10th out of 229 corners. In 2022, he was rated 13th best out of 236 corners. And because he kind of struggled this year for whatever reason, I think you can get him on a little bit of a discount. A contract I thought was comparable was Jalen Johnson's. I think Jalen Johnson's a better football player, And I also think Jalen Johnson got way more money than what a guy like Charvarius Ward would, which was a 4-year, $76 million deal. I think Ward would be closer to 4 years and $60 million. But we're using all comparable contracts, and he had a cap hit of $13 million in his first year, which would bring the Giants to $33.9 million. Also, Ward, I believe, is a Super Bowl champion with the Chiefs. He's also been in the Super Bowl with the Niners. If you can't tell, I'm looking to go out and get people that have played in big games, that have won games, and can bring culture to this team. Because Week 17 wins against the Colts, they don't bring culture. I also want to re-sign one of our own. I want to go out and I want to re-sign Azeez Ojulari. He's projected to get a 1-year, $5 million contract. You didn't trade him at the deadline. And if you're not willing to pay him $5 million, you're ass backwards as a general manager. I understand he misses time, but he's still just 24 years old. And he's actually, on a snap-per-snap basis, been more productive than Kayvon Thibodeau. His pass rush win rate is higher. He has 22 sacks in 46 games. He has 109 pressures in 46 games, nearly 5 pressures or like 3 pressures per game. I'm terrible at math. 65 hurries as well. I think Ojulari is a really good player, and if it only is going to take $5 million, I would love to go out and do it. And you still have $28.9 million in cap space. You want to save probably 15 to sign your draft class and then to continue to go through the offseason and throughout the season. I would also then make kicker Graham Gano a post-June 1st cut to save an additional $4 million. You still have plenty of money for your draft class. You still have plenty of money as well to fill up the other spots on your roster. Sign some one-year deal guys. Sign some depth guys. But overall, 7 players that I want to see the Giants go out and sign in my perfect free agency plan while factoring in realisticness is Marcus Mariota, Trey Smith, Chris Godwin, Poona Ford, Teair Tart, Charvarius Ward, and Azeez Ojulari. All of these players combined would have cap hits of $46.2 million in 2025. So definitely doable. Can you get Trey Smith to come here? I don't know. Can you get Chris Godwin to come here? I don't know. Does Charvarius Ward want to come here? I don't know. But, yeah, if I can go out and get these guys, I think it'd be pretty damn cool, and you'd still have a good chunk of change to spend and roll over and continue to build this roster in other ways. Grade this New York Giants free agency plan for me. A, B, C, D, or F. Try to keep it realistic. We'll also try to make it awesome enough for all of you guys. A, B, C, D, or F, let me know. And make sure you are following me on social media. I'm on Twitter. I'm on IG @MarshallGreen_.